Suddha Bhakata Charanarenu Bhajana Anukula Bhakata Seva Paramasiddhi Premalati Koromula Madhavati ti bhakti janani jatane palana kori Krishna basati basati boli parama adare boli Dora Maharaja Savastane Korado Bhamanarange Sesavastana Heri Bhavami Panai Bhakata Sange Mridanga Bhadya Sunite Mana Abasara Sarajapse Gaurabhita Kirtana Suni Anande Hridaya Nache Jugala Murti Dekhi Amara Parama Ananda Hoya Prasada Seva Karite Hoya Sakala Prapancha Jaya Jedina Grihe Bhajana Dekhi Grihete Goloka Bhaya Charana Sedu Dekhiya Ganga Sukana Simana Paya Tulasi Dekhi Juraya Pana Madhavato Shani Jani Gora Priya Shaka Sevane Jivana Sartakamani Bhakati Vino Krishna Bhajane Anukula Payaja Pratidivase Paramasukhe Shikara Koro Yeta Suddha Bhakata Charana Renu Bhajana Anukula Bhakata Seva Paramasiddhi Premalati Koromula Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. This is a song called Shuddha Bhakata from Saranagati, written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Dust from the lotus feet of pure devotees is conducive to devotional service, while service to the Vaishnavas is itself the supreme perfection and the root of the tender creeper of divine love. I observe with great care the holidays like Ekadasi and Janmashtami, for they are the mother of devotion. As my dwelling place, I choose with the greatest of reverence and love the transcendental abode of Sri Krishna. All those places where my Lord Gosundara traveled for pastimes, I will visit in the company of loving devotees. My mind always begs for the opportunity to hear the music of the mridanga. Upon hearing the kind of kirtan ordained by Lord Gaurachandra, my heart dances in ecstasy. By beholding the deity forms of the divine couple, Sri Radha Krishna, I feel the greatest joy. By honoring the Lord's prasad, I conquer over all worldly illusions. Goloka Vrindavan appears in my home whenever I see the worship and service of Lord Hari going on there. Upon seeing the Ganges, which is a river of nectar emanating from the lotus feet of the Lord, my happiness knows no bounds. The sight of the holy Tulasi tree soothes my soul, for I know she gives great pleasure to Lord Krishna. By honoring Sak, a dear favorite of Lord Chaitanya, I consider life worthwhile. Whatever Bhaktivinoda obtains that is conducive for the service of Sri Krishna, he accepts every day with the greatest of joy. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jasodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Jasodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jasodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Jasodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Om Vijupad Paramahamsa Parivraj Akacharya Ashtotara Satara Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Esi Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jaya Om Vijupad Paramahamsa Parivraj Akacharya Ashtotara Satara Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavana Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Seko Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Madhapur Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Gangamayi Ki Jai. Jamunamayi Ki Jai. Srimati Tulasi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Sri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Madan Mohan Ki Jai. Sri Sri Gaur Nitai Ki Jai. Sri Sri Jagannath Subhadra Baladev Ki Jai. Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the Sambhavatis. All glories to the Sambhavatis. All glories to the Sambhavatis. All glories to Sri Guru Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Vasubhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Sri Sri Radha Madan Mohan Ki Jai. Sri Sri Gaur Nitai Ki Jai. Sri Sri Jagannath Subhadra Baladev Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Today we are reading from Srila Prabhupada Lilamritam, This is volume 3, entitled Only He Could Lead Them. Prabhupada is in San Francisco and then came to India. In 1967, came back to India. First time after he left India in 1965. So we are reading from this chapter entitled India Revisited, Part 2. Krishna consciousness was dying in India, dying from neglect. At least it was dying here in Calcutta and in many other places in India, even in Vrindavan. The impersonal philosophy prevailed and grand old temples had become residences for pigeons. Pigeons, monkeys and dogs. Sad as it was, it only reinforced Prabhupada's conviction of the need to return to the fertile ground in the West. Although here in India the spirit of devotion was dying, in the West it was just beginning to grow, in New York, San Francisco, Montreal, and Boston. If pure Krishna consciousness were dying in India, then why shouldn't it be transplanted in the fertile West? There it would flourish. It would spread worldwide and even back to India again. When India, bent on following the West, saw the materially advanced Americans taking to Krishna consciousness, she would reevaluate her own culture. Prabhupada saw a Krishna conscious revolution beginning in the United States. He did not consider himself its creator. He was a servant of Krishna consciousness. Lord Chaitanya's desire was that every Indian helped to spread Krishna consciousness worldwide. Unfortunately, the very verses in the scriptures that prophesied a more worldwide Krishna consciousness movement were a puzzle even to most of Prabhupada's God brothers. They admitted it. But soon they would see there was great potential in the West. Prabhupada had shown many of his God brothers the newspaper articles. Swami's flock chanting in Tomsky Square Park. Ancient dance at Stanford University. And he had brought some disciples with him. These were only beginnings. Much more had to be done. And who would help? BP Kesav Maharaj was dying. Sridhar Maharaj could not come out. Who else? Most Indians were impersonalists, non-devotional yogis, or demigod worshippers. As Srila Prabhupada stood before the Radha Govinda deity, explaining to Achyutananda and Ramanuja how he had worshipped them in childhood and how they had been his first inspiration in Krishna consciousness. He understood deeply that he must take Krishna consciousness all over the world, even if single-handedly. So we understand that here, Srila Prabhupada had taken his disciples to his residence in Calcutta, and in front of that house was the temple of Radha Govinda, maintained by the Malik family. And these are the deities who blessed Srila Prabhupada from the very beginning of his life. When Prabhupada was just a small baby, he used to be taken to the Radha Govinda temple to look at the deity. And consequently, Srila Prabhupada was going there regularly as a young boy, just to take blessings of the deity. So from the beginning of his life, Prabhupada was Krishna conscious. Prabhupada said later on that never in my life I was forgetful of Krishna. Of course, he was not alone. He had disciples, and they were opening new centers even in his absence. He would have to return to them very soon and supervise his growing movement. The Maliks regarded Prabhupada more as a relative than as a spiritual leader. To them, he was a hometown cousin who had done something successful in America. Narendranath Malik, a childhood friend of Prabhupada's, called Prabhupada Dada, brother, and regularly joked with him. The Maliks were glad to give Prabhupada and his two followers a large room in the temple compound for as long as they wanted to stay in Calcutta. Prabhupada set up his usual arrangement: a mat on the floor, a low table for a desk, and beside the desk his few possessions. Here he could study and write, receive guests, or rest. Daily, some local women brought Prabhupada and his disciples simple prasadam in a tiffin. The Kali Puja celebrations drew large crowds into the main hall before the Kali deity, and Prabhupada gave regular lectures there from Srimad Bhagavatam. He also spoke in the homes of various Maliks families. The hosts, members of the dwindling Bengali aristocracy, would offer Prabhupada and his disciples Radha Govinda prasadam, cut fruits, watered chestnuts, minced ginger, and soaked salted mung beans. Most of those who came to visit Prabhupada in his room were not really interested in spiritual life, but they wanted his blessings. There was a local brahmana whose occupation was to go from shop to shop carrying a few flowers, a cup of water, and a brass container with sandalwood paste and kumkum powder. Using this paraphernalia, he would offer a blessing to the shopkeepers every day and receive a few paisa in payment. Knowing Prabhupada to be a Vaishnava, the brahmana came to see him to receive a spiritual benediction. The man's forehead was decorated with both Vaishnav tilak, that is 2 vertical lines, and Savait tilak, 3 horizontal lines. After the man left, Achyutananda asked, "Swamiji, who was that?" "He is a Hyde Brahmana," Prabhupada said. "When he goes to the Vaishnavas, he gives them blessings. And when he goes to the Shaivites, he gets money. He has to make a living." Another man came, asserting that he wanted to teach Prabhupada's disciples Hindi. He asked Prabhupada to help him get to America. But Prabhupada told him, "You must take sannyas, then I will bring you to America." After 2 visits, the man stopped coming. A Malik relation, a small, bald, bright-eyed man, came by one day carrying a book entitled Interesting Studies. He posed philosophical questions, simple queries about karma, dhyana, and bhakti, but then would interrupt Prabhupada and answer them himself. Finally, when the man asked one of his questions, Prabhupada replied, "So what is your answer?" The man gave a general answer, but later, when Prabhupada began explaining that Lord Krishna, the speaker of Bhagavad Gita, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the man interrupted, "You may call God Krishna, call him Shiva, call him..." "No," Prabhupada said, "Krishna is the Supreme Lord, and all others are demigods." The man became a little nervous and quoted a popular Bengali impersonalist who taught that all gods and all methods of worship are the same. "He's an upstart," Prabhupada said. That is not the teaching of the Gita. What is this? Other teachings? It is all utter confusion. If you go on speaking like this, the man said angrily, I'll have to leave this place. Please don't criticize this Paramahamsa. So everybody understand, who is this Paramahamsa? Why not? Prabhupada said, he is a concoctor. The man got up and left, calling out, you don't know Krishna, as he left the room. Prabhupada turned to Achyutananda and Ramanuja and smiled. Every time you introduce Krishna, they say, why only Krishna? But that is what Krishna says. Matta parataram nanyat. There is no truth superior to me. These rascal impersonalists have ruined Bengal. One day, a man gave Prabhupada a 200 rupee donation, and Prabhupada immediately asked the pujari for an old set of Radha Govinda's clothes, gave the clothes to some of the temple ladies along with the 200 rupees, and asked that the ladies make gold embroidered dresses for Radha Govinda. Radha Govinda are taking care of us, he said, so we can take care of them also. Ramanuja's beard was huge. Looking like an ordinary hippie, he misrepresented Srila Prabhupada wherever they went. Prabhupada told Achyutananda, tell your friend to shave. Achyutananda and Ramanuja talked, but Ramanuja would not shave. Wanting Ramanuja to agree on his own, Prabhupada did not ask him again. But when a copy of the Letters Back to Godhead magazine arrived from the States, Prabhupada got an idea. 2 illustrations in the magazine showed Haridas Thakur converting a prostitute. After her conversion, the prostitute had shaved her head. Showing the pictures to Ramanuja, Prabhupada asked, what is the difference between this picture and that picture? I don't know, Swamiji, Ramanuja replied. No, Prabhupada said, pointing to the pictures, what is the difference in this picture? Oh, she is a devotee. Yes, Prabhupada said, but what else? Oh, she has a shaved head. Yes, Prabhupada smiled. A devotee has a shaved head. Do you want me to shave my head? Yes. Ramanuja shaved. But within a few days, he began growing his beard and hair back. From now on, Prabhupada told Achyutananda, no more cheap initiations. They have to know something. Ramanuja hung on. Prabhupada wanted Ramanuja and Achyutananda to remain in India after his departure and continue to try for the American house in Vrindavan. Ramanuja wrote his own impressions to his friend Mukunda in San Francisco, quoting from his letter. Please be advised that we are doing all we can to get him off as soon as possible, but this primitive Indian government is putting obstacles in our way. The man who could have given Swamiji clearance for his P form has just drowned, so the clearance has to be made in Bombay. This is a delay. Here in Calcutta, we are having lots of fun addressing different people. Swamiji makes Achyutananda and myself give a short speech. I am becoming more and more expert at this. I think that he makes us speak in order to show the audience that we American Vaishnavas are for real. And also, he wants everyone to preach Krishna consciousness. It is very difficult to take care properly of Swamiji's health here. For one thing, It is a big thing to serve sweets in India, and it is impolite to decline. Also, we get all kinds of visitors. They have not been able to go to bed. We have not been able to go to bed before 11 o'clock, and Swamiji automatically wakes at 3. In this respect, the people here are very inconsiderate, but if Achyutananda and ask them to leave, they will ask Swamiji if they should, and Swamiji of course says no. Anyway, his heartbeat is a little fast, and sometimes it is alarmingly fast. So I suggest that you get a good heart specialist to see him. Please arrange for this doctor, and above all, make sure that Swamiji gets plenty of rest. You need not restrict visitors too strictly, because if the company is good, Swamiji seems to enjoy visitors. Please do all you can to get Swamiji's beat to normal again. His chariot needs to be fixed up so that he can remain on this earth for at least another 10 years. End of quote. Knowing that Swamiji would soon be returning, the devotees in America began to increase their entreaties, each group asking him to come to their particular city. On November 4th, Prabhupada wrote Mukunda, "As you say that my absence is being felt now, surely more deeply than ever, so I also feel to start immediately without waiting." And to Mukunda's wife Janaki, he wrote, "Every minute I think of you, and as you ask me to go to San Francisco while returning from India, I am trying to fulfill my promise. I am thinking of going directly to San Francisco." At the bottom of the same letter to Mukunda and Janaki, Achyutananda added a health report. Swamiji, quote from his letter, "Swamiji is looking healthy and living and working regularly, but his pulse rate is generally too fast. Last night it was 95. Unusually fast even for him, as it is generally hovering between 83 and 86. End of quote. Prabhupada decided not to wait any longer on the chance that Mukunda might secure him permanent residency. "I want to return to your country, where there is good air and good water," he told Achyutananda one day. "Every day we are receiving letters that the devotees want me there. I thought that in my absence they might deteriorate, and I was reluctant to even come to India. But now I see that it is growing. There is need for me to go and supervise the expansion, so I want to go back." The only impediment now seemed to be a delayed P form, a clearance from the Bank of India required for an Indian citizen traveling abroad. Quote from his letter, "I'm just ready for starting for America, but as you know, our competent government is very slow in action. The P form was submitted almost a month ago, but still it is undergoing red tapeism. The visa was granted to me within half an hour. The passage money was deposited within 2 days, but unfortunately, the Reserve Bank of India is delaying the matter unnecessarily. I expect the P form at any moment, and as soon as I get it, I shall start for your country." End of quote. Just to make certain that Swamiji would come first to San Francisco, Mukunda sent a telegram to Calcutta. "Swamiji, Brahmananda and I agree you start immediately. Advice, exact arrival date, Mukunda." Prabhupada had planned his route to Tokyo, intending to stop for a day, to probe if there is any possibility for starting a center. In Tokyo, he would let Mukunda know by telephone his arrival time in San Francisco. But 3 weeks passed while Prabhupada continued to wait for his P form. Meanwhile, he received good news from New York. The Macmillan Company's interest in Bhagavad Gita was real. The contract was being drawn. Pleased with Brahmananda, he wrote to him on November 11, explaining his visions for distributing Krishna-conscious literature. Quote from his letter. If publications are there, we can work from one center only, like New York or San Francisco, for propagating our cult all over the world. Let us stick to the publication of BTG more and more nicely and publish some Vedic literatures like Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, etc. End of quote. As Prabhupada's mind turned more to the preaching than awaiting him in America, he assessed what he had done so far, what he would do, and the process by which he would do it. Quote from his letter. I am not in agreement with Mr. Altman that we are expanding very thinly. In my opinion, a single sincere soul can maintain a center. You know, I started a center at 26 2nd Avenue alone. I took the risk of $200 per month for rent. At that time, there were no assistants. Mukunda was at that time a friend, but there was no responsibility for him for maintaining the center. Gradually, Kirtanananda and Hayagriva joined, but they did not take any responsibility. Still, I was maintaining the establishment, simply depending on Krishna, and then Krishna sent me everything, men and money. Similarly, if a sincere soul goes out and opens a center in any part of the world, Krishna will help him in all respects. Without being empowered by Krishna, nobody can preach Krishna consciousness. It is not academic qualification or financial strength which helps in these matters, but it is sincerity of purpose which helps us always. Therefore, I wish that you, Brahmananda, will remain in charge of New York. Let Satswarupa be in charge of Boston. Let Mukunda be in charge of San Francisco. Let Janardhan be in charge of Montreal. Let Nandarani and Dayananda be in charge of Los Angeles. And let Subaldas be in charge of Santa Fe. In this way, you will follow my example as I did in the beginning at 26 7th Avenue. That is, preaching, cooking, writing, talking, chanting everything, one man's work. I never thought about the audience. I was prepared to chant if there were no man to hear me. The principle of chanting is to glorify the Lord and not to attract a crowd. If Krishna hears nicely, then he will ask some sincere devotee to gather in such a place. Therefore, be advised that thousands of centers may be started if we find out a sincere soul for each and every center. We do not require more men to start. If there is one sincere soul, that is sufficient to start a new center. End of quote. On November 12, Srila Prabhupada wrote to Krishna Devi, quote from his letter, I am coming soon to San Francisco. I shall let you know the exact date sometime next week. I am coming over very soon to see you when everything will be adjusted. Hope you are well. End of his letter. And the health notes from Achyutananda continued to arrive. Quote from his letter. Please tell the devotees out there to take good care of him. It is a very hard task trying to restrain him from overworking himself. But they must be strict. He still has to take his medicines and get his massage every day. End of quote. On November 20th, Prabhupada dispatched by boat to New York more than 800 copies of the first 3 volumes of his Srimad Bhagavatam. And on the next day, his PFON finally cleared. Immediately, he booked passage on Pan American Airlines and sent a cable informing Mukunda that he would arrive in San Francisco on November 24th at 12:45 p.m. But again, his departure was delayed, this time by the strike by the Communist Party in Calcutta. Businesses closed. Cars, buses, rickshaws, and trains stopped running. Riots broke out. There were murders and assassinations. Meanwhile, Prabhupada remained at the Radha Govinda temple. My quote from his letter, my return to your country is already settled, but due to a petty revolution in Calcutta, I am not able to leave. Our San Francisco friends may be very anxious because I sent them 2 telegrams, one informing them of my arrival and the other cancelling it. Future arrangements are pending. End of quote. So we can end here this reading. There are some significant instructions given by Srila Prabhupada to his disciples. Srila Prabhupada showed the example of a perfect preacher. A preacher is not hankering for results. Just like here now the book distribution is going on, December, January, first half. And those who are going out for book distribution, they take their books, Prabhupada books, and go out in the street and try to distribute these books as much as possible. Prabhupada mentioned in another instance that one lady disciple, I forgot her name, she asked Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, what should be our consciousness? We are following Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings, Tunarapi Sudicena, Tarorapi Sahishnuna, should be more humble than the blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree. So how we are going out for preaching, distributing books, so how to be more humble than the humble blade of grass? And Srila Prabhupada answered, you be a lion in the chase and a deer, no, not a deer, he said another word, a lamb, and a lamb at home. A lion in the chase, lamb at home. This should be your consciousness. So just try to understand. Yeah, humble, more humble than the blade of grass at home, like a lamb. A lamb is very fearful, always very shy, always very, careful about his own safety and very, very respectful and not aggressive like that. That should be a lamb at home, yes. But lion on the chase, a lion is very fearful, very aggressive. He'll not hesitate to attack anybody. That should be your consciousness while distributing books in the street. So another disciple asked the same question to Srila Prabhupada. What should be our consciousness? More humble than the blade of grass? Or what consciousness should be while preaching activities? And Prabhupada answered, you should be aggressive. Aggressiveness can be shown in two ways. You should be aggressive while preaching, and we should be also aggressive while begging mercy from Lord Krishna. Two ways of being aggressive that is wanted. So Prabhupada was a very ideal preacher, pure Vaishnava, and not anxious for result in the sense that Prabhupada knew that this Hare Krishna movement should be spread all over the world. Prithivita Chayat Nagaladigram Sarvatra Prachar Hobi Mornam. That is the teaching of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it is, Prabhupada took up this mission on behalf of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Somebody told Prabhupada, if really it was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's idea to spread Hare Krishna all over the world, in every town and village, why he did not do it himself? He is God, Krishna himself. Why he didn't spread the Hare Krishna himself everywhere? Prabhupada said, yes. He wanted to give me credit for that. Just like Lord Krishna in the battle of Kurukshetra, he wanted Arjuna to fight. Otherwise he could have told Arjuna, now you go back to Hastinapur, no need of fighting, I'll do it myself. But no, Krishna wanted Arjuna to fight. The whole idea of Bhagavad Gita is to make Arjuna angry, fighting spirit. So this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also. He wanted Prabhupada to take the credit to preach Krishna consciousness throughout the world. That was most of the God brothers of Srila Prabhupada would not consider that these worldwide preaching activities would be successful. They were thinking, maybe it is there, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami has written this. But it's only a poetical expression. It's only poetry. There is nothing real into that. But Prabhupada and his Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, they knew very well that this was the real mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj gave that instruction to Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktivedanta Swami, to execute this on behalf of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So as Prabhupada writes in his letter, even one person, this is what I did, 26 2nd Avenue in New York City, nobody was there. Nobody was there even to rent for the renting of the room, $200 a month. Nobody gave any donation. I had to manage myself by selling this Srimad Bhagavatam. Like this, I could rent that storefront in New York City at the beginning. So I was there, one single person. Gradually, one came, Brahmananda, Hayagriva, Kirtanananda, they came one by one. Like this, gradually, more and more, because of preaching. One single person can preach, and gradually, others will be attracted, and they will join the movement. So each one of you, you can open one center. You don't need to be a dozen devotees at the beginning, not necessary. One single person, you can open a center. And gradually, by your preaching activity, people will be attracted and they will join by purity. Purity is the force. So Prabhupada was confident that some of his senior disciples could do that, and he gave them encouragement. There's any thousands of centers can be opened like this in any part of the world. One single person is sufficient. So Prabhupada had this vision. Nobody else had that vision. And he was giving that vision to his disciples. Another, at one point when Prabhupada was in New York, one of his disciples, I forgot his name, organized a program in outside in a lecture hall. So the hall was rented, some publicity was made that Swamiji will come to give lecture on such and such day and time. So everything was arranged, publicity was made in that manner. So Prabhupada came along with his disciples and they entered into the hall and they were surprised. Nobody was there. Nobody. So I think Brahmananda, I told Prabhupada, Swamiji, I'm very sorry. I thought that this hall is very good, people can come easily, and we made publicity for the program. I'm very, very sorry, nobody came. And Prabhupada said, why are you sorry? Don't you see? Narada Muni is there. Don't you see? So many rishis and devatas, they have come to attend the program. So Prabhupada had that type of vision, which of course nobody else could have. So this is very extraordinary. To even today, we can take association with Prabhupada and take enlightening instructions from him. In the course of our spiritual journey, we may not have seen Prabhupada. For the new generation, Prabhupada is some distant spiritual master. But if we really apply our mind and consciousness properly, then we can always have association with Prabhupada and follow his instructions in the course of our spiritual life. In this way, make our life successful. Regarding the state of Krishna consciousness in India at that time, it is a fact that Krishna consciousness, Krishna bhakti, as taught by the previous acharyas and the devotees of the Lord. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is advented himself in Bengal 500 years earlier, 1486, and unfortunately the movement started by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu even in Bengal had deteriorated to the point that nobody at that time among the intelligentsia, the so-called learned people, pay any importance to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Maybe some of them think, oh, okay, he is a great devotee, but nothing more than that. There was no movement alive of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at that time in Bengal. Practically speaking, Bhaktivinoda Thakur revived the movement, and then Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. But that was only the beginning. And the majority of people were not really Krishna conscious. So Prabhupada, sometime he was explaining to his disciples, Western disciples, that in India, people will tell, I know Krishna, but they will not render any service. They will not participate in the Hare Krishna movement. They simply say, I know Krishna. That's all. So that is the problem at that time that Srila Prabhupada saw in India. Preaching in India appeared to be difficult because the majority of people were not willing to adopt this Hare Krishna movement, thinking that they already know, and many of them had been contaminated by the Mayavad philosophy that God is impersonal, or that you can worship anybody. Reference is made about this Paramahamsa, who said that you can worship anyone, everybody is equal in the system started by Shankaracharya, the Panchopasana system of worship. You can worship 5 deities: Lord Vishnu, Lakshmi, Ganesh, and I think Durga and Surya. 5 deities. Equally, whatever you want, you worship any one of them, it will give to the same result. That is not the teaching of Bhagavad Gita, but unfortunately, it was very prominent at that time. It was like something very wide teachings, very compassionate. You may be worshipping this deity, that deity, doesn't matter. Whatever you do is all right. It will lead to the same goal. So this teaching is also in Bengal, was very prominent because of this mission in the Bhagavad Gita and the purports, some of the slokas, purports from Bhagavad Gita. Srila Prabhupada mentions this particular mission also. And that goes completely 100% against the sloka or the teaching of Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. Like one sloka is Yanti Deva Vrata Devan Pitrun Yanti Pitruvrataha Bhutani Yanti Bhuteja Yanti Madhyajinopi Mam. You can worship the Deva, you go to Deva. You can worship the Pitrus, you go to the Pitrus. Pitruloka is there, you can go there. And you can worship the Bhuta, and you can join the Bhutagana, associates of Lord Shiva. That also you can do. But Yanti Madhyajinopi Mam, those who worship me will come to me. That is the difference between worshipping Lord Krishna and worshipping any other deity. So that is very essential teaching that Srila Prabhupada make sure from his commentary that everybody should understand this and not be misled by so-called Paramahamsa. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada Lilamritam ki jai. Sri Satyarup Das Goswami.